So in a previous video, I talked about my forecast for the presidential election, and in that video, I gave my prediction that states that Donald Trump will win a second term as president of the United States versus Biden as of February 2024. Now I'm going to do something similar, starting with that same premise, right? Now you already know that I see the Republican winning the White House, which means you will have a Republican vice presidential candidate, which already tilts the Senate in favor of the Republican candidate. But let me give you more context, shall we? So as of now, as opposed to in contrast with the presidential forecast, I do see a very close race for the Senate, right? It's the Democratic candidates for Senate are definitely not a mirrored image to their presidential counterparts. And what I mean by that is there appears to be a big difference between the popularity of the presidential Democratic incumbent and their Senate counterparts. For example, in Ohio, you have Sherrod Brown running for re-election in the Senate. This is a +9, +10, +11 Trump state, right? And you have Sherrod Brown winning in the polls, in the aggregate of polls for that seat in particular, which is surprising to me. Same thing you see with Bob Casey, or very similar thing you see in Bob Casey, because Pennsylvania is more of a swing state, right? Bob Casey winning by 12%. You see, and that's by no means similar to the Biden margin. I see him winning by 1% in Pennsylvania. Arizona, I don't see Biden winning in Arizona, but you have Ruben Gallego winning in Arizona by 5%, even with Lake on the ballot. You see, it's also it's very indicative of how important quality, candidate quality is in this election, right? And a very similar thing you see, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's only one poll from Montana, but in that poll in Montana, you see a very close race between the Montana senatorial candidate and its Republican counterpart, right? So it's incredibly interesting to see how in the Senate election you see a much wider support for the incumbents that you see in the presidential election. With that being said, this is the interactive map. This is the consensus of support you see in the senatorial election. And as you can clearly see, Republicans have control of 50 seats just in this forecast alone. They already have 50 seats, which means they already control the Senate if I see Trump winning the White House, right? If you see Biden winning the White House, this will be more competitive. But just starting off, we know that the Senate is going to be in control of the Republicans. But let's look at individual states. I see Sherrod Brown winning in Ohio by a tilt margin because he's such a popular senator. It's very palpable. We'll have to see how much cross-party support we see, cross-party voting, but he's extremely popular in that regard. Same thing I see in Arizona. Tilt characterization less than 1%. I see Ruben Gallego winning against Kari Lake and the independent candidate Kristen Sinema. And finally in Montana, it's a coin toss, but if I had to flip, I would say Tester wins in Montana as well. I see more of a rosy horizon for Democrats in the Senate, even though they would lose the Senate with Trump winning the White House. But you would have a 50-50 Senate scenario, a much better scenario than they envision, or at least most pundits envision. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like. subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.